Good afternoon. Today we will be discussing our chosen research topic, factors that contribute to improved student engagement in the classroom. The members of our group are myself, Samantha Drasimu, 20185246, Lara Manning, 20023661, Naomi Johnston, 19347312, Taryn Furlong, 19731748, and Lynn Nguyen, 20192365. We have chosen this topic because we strongly believe that student engagement is the foundation of learning and success in the classroom. Our overall topic has been divided into 5 subtopics. These include how to engage students in creative writing, how does the use of gamification impact student engagement, impacts of student-teacher relationships on student engagement, how does project-based learning impact student engagement, and lastly, how does the use of virtual tools impact creative writing? All of the subtopics support our overarching research question because each one links to specific strategies or approaches that can influence student interest, motivation, and participation in the classroom. The action research we have conducted allows teachers to improve the quality of teaching and learning in the classroom by providing data that features both evidence-based and practical strategies that target improved student engagement.
The proposed intervention is a blended learning strategy that integrates virtual tools, gamification elements, and project-based learning activities to enhance student engagement. Virtual tools may include the following: New South Wales EduChat, Education AI software, gamification, Canva, Google Slides, Google Classroom, Edmodo, and Grammarly. Our synthesized literature review emphasizes the importance of a positive learning environment where students feel valued and belong, as highlighted in the reviews by Naomi, Taryn, and Lara. A strong, positive teacher-student relationship is crucial for fostering a sense of belonging and enhancing student engagement. Therefore, by incorporating gamified elements such as point system, teamwork, leaderboards, badges, and instant feedback from project-based learning, our intervention can help build rapport and provide students with a sense of accomplishment, thus enhancing their engagement. Our synthesized literature review also reveals that engagement is higher when students see the relevance of their learning to real-life scenarios. Therefore, we decided to implement project-based learning as this requires students to apply their knowledge to solve practical real-life problems. This approach not only engages students but also promotes critical thinking skills and problem-solving skills as well. Moreover, we also identified a common theme from Naomi's, Lynn's, and Lara's literature review, where they highlight the importance of instant and constant feedback in increasing student engagement. Gamification, virtual tools, and project-based learning provide immediate feedback, allowing both teachers and students to effectively monitor and reflect on their progress. Additionally, the literature highlights the critical role of teachers in setting clear instructions and expectations. The organization and clarity of the activities designed by teachers are also key factors in promoting student engagement. When students understand the goals, processes, and assessment criteria, they are more likely to participate actively and stay motivated. Thus, our intervention incorporates these elements to create a structured yet flexible learning environment that maximizes student engagement. Last but not least, the literature review also highlights the implication of diverse student needs, characteristics, and personalities in determining the effectiveness of engagement strategies. Our intervention incorporates gamification, virtual tools, and project-based learning, which are all flexible and adaptable. This intervention allows for differentiated learning opportunities and customization based on student needs, ultimately enhancing student engagement across diverse student groups.
Our synthesized data analysis utilized a qualitative approach which involved using thematic coding as a method to examine and interpret the data collected from the interviews, observations, and artifacts. By applying coding, we were able to identify key ideas and patterns and then put them into themes. The common themes we established across the board that positively impacted student engagement were virtual tools, project-based activities, teacher organisation and preparation, differentiation, and feedback. These coded themes then help shape our chosen intervention. Our intervention design has a focus on the use of virtual tools and project-based activities to improve student engagement. This is to create a more interactive and hands-on learning experience, which is something that was identified in our data analysis. Through the methods of observation, interviews, and artifacts, it is evident how virtual-based tools significantly improve student engagement. Project-based learning was a factor researched through classroom observation. Students were assigned the task of working in groups and creating a presentation that outlined a specific role women had during World War I, such as nurses or factory workers. A scaffold, timeline, and final goal were provided to students so they knew what needed to be included in their project. The findings of this observation were that students were highly engaged in the project, and even students who usually struggled with regular classwork and motivation to do work were heavily engaged. We were able to identify low ability students who usually struggle with regular classwork and attitudes towards learning, and they were highly engaged in this project as they were working closely with other students who are other mixed abilities. This intervention fits within the action research cycle as follows. Firstly, we started to plan, and we realized that low engagement was a classroom issue that we wanted to focus on. The thematic coding process we used when synthesizing our literature reviews helped shape our intervention as the insights we gathered identified the positive virtual tools and project-based activities had on student engagement. We then planned to collect data through interviews, observations, and artifacts. In the action part of the cycle, we started to implement our plan by utilizing virtual tools and project-based activities in the classroom, or by interviewing current teachers who are familiar with these tools and activities. We then started gathering this data from the participants to understand how effective these tools and activities are. In the observation phase, we started to analyze the collected data through coding and started to identify the key recurring themes. This helped us understand what was crucial in promoting student engagement and any perceived complications when utilizing virtual tools or project-based activities. In the reflecting phase, we started to analyze the results, comparing engagement to when virtual tools and project-based activities were implemented in the classroom versus when they weren't utilized. We also looked at any strengths and weaknesses. To do this, we collected the data from artifacts. After one lesson using traditional lecture-based learning, we had students anonymously fill out an artifact based on their mood with the help of emojis. Students were able to write comments if they had wanted to. We then repeated this process with the same class, but after a lesson that implemented virtual tools and project-based activities. The results showed that most students felt happier after the virtual tools and project-based learning than they did after a traditional lecture-based learning. In these lessons, we also had the prac teacher, which in this case was Lara, observed the differences of engagement between these lessons. Lara states that students were more engaged with the use of virtual tools and project-based activities in comparison to a traditional lecture-based lesson. Students participated more with virtual tools and were able to connect with the content through project-based learning. If anything, more behavioral issues arose during the lecture-based lesson. Furthermore, we believe mood and well-being can greatly impact student engagement, and this is evident with these results. Finally, in the refinement stage, we used the findings from the reflection phase to help shape any adjustments our intervention may need for any future cycles.
We proposed that an action research study would be beneficial to assess the successfulness of our intervention. This would involve teaching a project-based unit using virtual tools to improve student engagement. The action study should be conducted over the space of a term, or 10 to 12 weeks, during which a selection of virtual tools would be introduced fortnightly through the project-based unit. The tools suggested to use for this study were collected through our interviews and other data analysis methods. These tools include New South Wales EduChat, which is an education AI software, Kahoot, Canva or Google Slides, Google Classroom, Edrolo, and Grammarly. There are several ethical considerations made for this study. Firstly, the teachers, the students, and their parents or carers will be provided consent forms before the project is started. All the participants and their carers would be informed of the full intention of the study and its process during the permission gathering process. During the study, they would be kept anonymous, and all field notes, recordings, and/or survey responses would be inaccessible to unrelated parties in locked filing cabinets and locked audio devices. After receiving the consent of the participants and their carers, the study would be conducted. This project will utilise a mixed method approach to collecting and analysing data. Richards and Farrell argue that observations are a common form of data gathering when investigating a complex, multifaceted and dynamic setting, such as a classroom. Curvin and Oakley argue that a high-quality interview can add significantly to an interviewer's understanding of the social setting they are investigating. This project involves a qualitative review of 5 to 6 interviews conducted fortnightly. These will be used to understand the teacher's view on the impact of virtual tools on student engagement. Alongside this, weekly observations will be conducted to evaluate the changing levels of engagement in the classroom. These observations are based on work discussed by Dana and Yendel Hoppe, in which whole class observations were performed every 2 minutes in order to assess the varying levels of engagement in the classroom. Finally, student surveys will be conducted to assess the students' opinions on these tools and their impact on their engagement. This study incorporates an approach to analysing and coding data adapted from research by Curvin and Oakley and Saldana. Firstly, the interview recordings, notes, field notes from observations, and the student surveys will be carefully read over and summarised into a table. Secondly, the table is again read over, and elements that are repeated, surprising, explicitly stated as important by the participants, or previously read about in other papers on the topic, will be highlighted and summarised into codes in a second column. Thirdly, the conceptualisation of underlying patterns will begin by creating categories for these codes. Finally, like categories will be grouped together into overarching themes. This data will allow us to determine if students and teachers consider project-based units that use virtual tools to be beneficial, with specific regard to improving student engagement.
So now that the initial research data has been collected and analysed, the next step in the action research cycle involves refining the data results in order to then plan for continued long-term research. Refining the data results involves continuing to code the data collected and then reflecting upon whether it has provided suitable results for our research topic to make sure that we can actually continue. Having a thorough understanding of our results allows us to make considered judgments about how to plan for those next actions to take place to make sure that we are able to ensure the action research cycle can continue. In the case of our research, it is clear that understanding the factors in student engagement cannot be completely studied in the small window of time that we have conducted our current study today. So this is ultimately just because of advancements in technology and the attitude of students is constantly changing. Therefore, our strategies for engagement within classrooms also has to constantly change and adapt to these social changes that are occurring to our students. So our topic is designed to be a long-term researched concept. This allows teachers to be consistently gaining new strategies for student engagement, as well as ultimately provide a positive learning experience for both teachers and students. So for our research, we have developed it in a way that it can be conducted from a school-to-school basis, essentially just through trial and error. So our teachers would be able to implement the intervention and factors that we have outlined in this proposal, such as virtual tools and project-based learning, which definitely can easily adapt to these changes in technology and student attitudes. And then the teachers can take on those interventions, implement them, and then observe the outcomes and then provide feedback to their school via head teachers or principals. Once they can look at these results and the feedback that they've been given directly from classroom teachers, this data can then be analysed, reflected upon, refined, and then ultimately can continue that action research cycle. So having it from a school-to-school basis just allows for this action research cycle to ultimately continue.
The continuous improvement of this intervention will be ensured by using student feedback, the reflection of teachers, ongoing assessment and monitoring, adjustments, and professional learning. We will regularly collect feedback from students regarding virtual tool use by conducting surveys, discussions, interviews, and work samples. This feedback will target which virtual tools students find the most effective and engaging, and will notify teachers about areas for improvement. Another way to ensure the continuous improvement of our intervention is to engage and collaborate with other teachers on a regular basis. In doing so, we can discuss whether the implementation of specific tools is effective or not. Then, based on the feedback of students and the reflection of teachers, we can make tailored adjustments to our intervention. Some adjustments may include replacing ineffective virtual tools and implementing new tools that are thought to be effective, or adjusting when or how the virtual tool is used. Furthermore, professional learning will ensure improvement as any adjustments will be discussed at weekly staff meetings, keeping staff informed about new virtual tools and their intended use, allowing for ongoing professional development. Thank you for listening to our presentation on the factors that improve student engagement in the classroom, and our intervention, which consists of utilising virtual tools to assist with student learning. We hope that you will implement our findings and intervention in your classroom.